Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman.
And hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be with you all. And we have an amazing guest today, the amazing Bob Doyle. Hello.
Hey, Daniel.
All right. So, yeah, I've been learning incredible different things about you and looking forward to sharing with you, with the audience. I think one of the things people don't probably fully know about you, unless they know you really well, is you're entertaining, a fun guy. You're up to a lot of things, and that's the magic you're bringing into these law of attraction teachings all these years. So,
Well,
really fun to have you.
I appreciate that. I would have to say that a big part of like my journey is that there was a few years that I wasn't bringing that playfulness in, that was a sort of a challenging time where I was trying to find out, how do I be me in this industry that I sort of sidestepped into. Mm-hmm. But now, as you've pointed out, I have definitely found the fun in doing this work.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to having fun with you, and we're going to be talking about how thoughts become things from the movie, movie that was outpacing The Secret there for a while, at least I know, in sales. So it's been doing very well. Some people call it Secret 2, right? So
Some people do.
Yeah. And so let's let them know more about you, Bob. So Bob Doyle is the best known for his contribution, of course, in the global phenomenon, film and book, The Secret, as a law of attraction expert. He has been teaching these principles through programs, live events, podcasts, live streams, coaching, writing, and even virtual reality, which sounds very interesting to me, since 1998. He is driven by his passion for creative self-expression, and his work is heavily focused on helping people decide who they want to be and how they want to express themselves. In addition to his law of attraction work, Bob is a serial entrepreneur, has been a voiceover artist since 1985, and is the host of the Bob Doyle Show, which is more of a variety show where Bob showcases his other outlets of all that creativity and fun we were talking about earlier, including music, computer animation, virtual reality, and more. So lots of fun on the Bob Doyle Show on YouTube. Check that out real briefly. So, geez, Bob, how did you get into all this stuff? You have so many. You're a Renaissance guy, and you blew up in this area of law of attraction. How did you get here?
Yes, it was a complete accident, because it was certainly never on my list of things to do. I don't even know how I could have imagined something like The Secret, for example, but I always knew I wanted to be a broadcaster, which is, it's nice that it's kind of come full circle, but it took a long time. So I started out in radio, thinking that that's what knowing since I was like 10 years old, that's what I wanted to do. And then when I did it, it really wasn't. It didn't bring me the joy that I was hoping it would. I didn't have the freedom of, to do all the things I wanted to, because I was working in a major market, radio, in Atlanta. So I couldn't just walk in and, be fresh off the street and do everything I wanted to. So I just lost my patience, and I left the industry. And then I went around from job to job, just trying to find some way to creatively express myself through what I was doing. So I moved into computers, and I did some network marketing, and I went into web design and all of these things. And at some point I found myself in this corporate job, which started out creatively enough, but then quickly they changed their direction. And I was just going to this thing that was just sucking the life out of me. And the short version of all of this is that I just kind of quit without a safety net and started looking for answers. And now in the background, I had already started researching things like meditation and visualization and things like that, to try and find out why some of the things in my life that I thought should be working were not. Mm-hmm. And it was through this journey, and again, that's a whole other conversation, the full journey, but what it finally led me to during this sort of dark summer of the soul, where I didn't know what I was going to do for money or anything, was a series of resources that sort of turned on the lights for me about, they weren't even using the term law of attraction. It was more wealth consciousness at this point. But the section that really turned it on for me was about quantum physics and the physics of our thought. And I always carried around this knowledge that, everything is energy, but when we're taught so much, when we're trying to create our reality about keeping positive and affirmations and, the things that you say, my aha moment was realizing that beyond that, it was the stuff that was going on a subconscious level that was really affecting my ability to have the life I wanted to. So, the energy of that and the energy of my belief system around money, that was all guiding me in ways that I didn't know, and certainly, creating my experience of reality. So when I had that aha moment that basically no matter what I was saying out loud about how I wanted to succeed and the career I wanted to have, it was the inner beliefs about money and success, that it was hard and that I'd always be in debt, that I'd cultivated over my lifetime, being the son of a single mom who was a teacher. Those were what were really driving me. And just being able to shine a light on that and go, oh, okay, well, I need to work on those then. That was the big aha. So cut to, I had a huge series of aha moments. I put together this Wealth Beyond Reason program, which was really, I wasn't positioning myself as an expert at that time. It was more a facilitator of the information I was learning, and I just wanted to turn it around. But that quickly then turned into me making a declaration to myself that is a very important part of my message now, is that I no longer was content to just aspire to be somebody who could help people or aspire to be like that person or that person in this personal development industry or whatever. I was going to be this person starting today. And so I made a decision that who I was going to be in this conversation was someone who could effectively communicate these principles to as many willing minds as possible, as many willing, open minds. Like I never wanted to debate it or argue it or any of that. Once I made that declaration, then things really took off for me with my business. The program grew. It became more my content than other people's. And then eventually, I fell, I guess, into that expert status. And that's about the time that Rhonda Byrne was putting The Secret together. And she found my program online. And I have a unique voice in this conversation. I think she was just looking for different voices. And that's how I ended up in that film. And of course that, put me in front of millions of people who wouldn't have otherwise seen me. So that's kind of the not so short, but it sure could be a lot longer answer.
Right now, that was very efficient, actually. You really got to the through that amazingly. So here you are. You're reaching all these people through this. So what I'm wondering, if we talk about how thoughts become things, okay? Mm-hmm. So broaching that subject from your story, like how did you go from the programming around like it's hard, you're gonna have to work really hard, just like my mom was working really hard is what it sounds like. So I'm gonna have to work really hard, it's not reasonable, right? It's where the title probably came from, because this idea we have
Wealth Beyond Reason.
Reasonable,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
How did you go from that to ultimately being really well known through this for Law of Attraction, everything on The Secret, and all that? So how did that happen for you? What do you believe are some of the secrets, your secrets, that help you to do that? Because a lot of people are trying to use these principles, right? They're like, I'm affirming every day, I'm writing 1,000 times or whatever. They're trying to. So you mentioned the subconscious, but I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, the first thing that I had to understand, and really it was another big aha, was that other people were doing it. Other people were doing the things I wanted to do, the things that I was telling, like it's not universally true that money's hard to come by. That is a belief that I had, and I was living in alignment with that belief. And yet I could see out in the world that that's not true for everybody. There were people who were effortlessly attracting money. Maybe their issues were in relationships or whatever, but that it's not a truth that money is hard to come by. And it's not a truth that people are always in debt. And just that alone was like, okay, I got to get out of my bubble and tell myself a different thing. Now, right now, today, and certainly the subject of the, how thoughts become things, my conversation is much more about brain wiring, the biology of this, than it was back then, which is more vibration and energy and all of that, which was fascinating to me at that time. And a lot of people were really into it. And The Secret certainly talked mostly about that. And it turned into this magical conversation, unfortunately, because that, led a lot of people to not pay attention to it. But to me, I was always able to see that there were two levels to this. There were the invisible vibration woo-woo level, which I mostly focused on, but all of that is working in alignment with how you're just showing up in the physical, in the real world. I mean, when you create a vision for yourself and who you're going to be, and it needs to be different than who you're being now if you want your reality to change, when you start getting clear on that and acting into alignment with that, instead of acting on autopilot, then you're going to get different results in the world. I mean, people are going to respond to you differently. You're going to have a different level of credibility, for example. You're going to be putting out more value. You're just going to have more confidence. There's a million things that will be different. So you'll get different responses, different results. Your experience of reality will be different just because you have created a vision for yourself that you are living in alignment with. And there's also all this cool, invisible, energetic, woo-woo vibration stuff that are kind of bringing in these situations for you to be in, to respond to. But you don't have to know any of that stuff. And I think that's really what I'm trying to communicate the most to people after talking about the law of attraction and the energy and vibration for so long, trying to get people to get it, is that I realized you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting and it's cool and it's fun. And if it helps you, great. But really most of this can be done in a very grounded way without even talking about any of that stuff. So I'm happy to help people either way. Ideally, I'd love to blend it so that they can understand why we're telling them, hey, look, you don't have the luxury of dwelling in negative thinking because there's this wiring going on as a result, but there's also this energy thing going on, just a big picture. But I can help people create a life they love, even if they don't believe in the law of attraction, because it's happening all in your brain.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because I tune into people's energies and chakras, and probably a lot of my listeners might do some of those things too. So very much more the so-called woo crowd, right?
Yeah.
And but yet a lot of people are struggling with money and going to the next level with their business or whatever it may be, and they try to rewire, right? So they might even listen to subliminal or hypnosis tracks. They could go on to 1,000 healers, and like, still not happening. What are people missing? What are some of the common things people are missing when they feel like they've been working it? Because I feel like a lot of the not everybody, but like a certain percentage of a crowd probably feel like, well, I've been trying these things and
yes.
they're not working for me. Yeah.
Right. So let me just, obviously that's a general question. So this will be a general answer, and, everybody has their own specific stuff, but generally speaking, people are very impatient. We had decades, if we're adults, decades of unconscious wiring going on. Decades. It's so deep that's our truth is defined by that wiring. It's not the guy next door's truth, by the way. So there is no truth to it, but it's your truth. And if you're going to change anything about your truth, you're going to go up against decades of wiring, and it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to be challenging. Your ego is going to be screaming at you. And a lot of people just freaking bail, or they go into some sort of autopilot that they don't know about. Like, for example, they'll do these things and then they'll go and tell everybody how they're trying them and it's not working. That doesn't work. You can't have two of this. That's two completely different conversations. I'm doing it. I'm not. I'm doing it. It's not working. I'm doing it. It's not working. You're all over the place because you're running on autopilot. It takes such a level of being conscious and catching yourself in every moment and not justifying, rationalizing, feeling a certain way or going down a certain road, not allowing yourself to talk about how it's not working. Because even though that's your evidence, you don't know. You haven't given it enough time. You haven't given it enough time to see results. This is not a 7-day or even a 30-day or 60-day thing necessarily. Can change happen in an instant? Absolutely. Do miracles happen almost instantaneously to people? Yes, they do, but that's not the norm. And if a person is looking for results, where is it? Where is it? That's already, you're in the wrong mindset. Because a person who trusts the process isn't looking. They're just being in the moment. They're living their life. They're being who they are, and they know it's going to come. There's so many layers of misunderstanding to this. Like, people are going after the stuff and they think it's the thing they want. And if it doesn't show up for them, they think this process isn't working. But they're skipping the most important fact, is that no matter what it is they think they want, they're doing it for one thing, and that is the feeling that they're going to get. That's all people want, is they do everything for a feeling. Ultimately, it's about the feeling. If they didn't get some level of satisfaction or happiness or love or joy or something out of it, there'd be no human motivation to do it. So that's everything we want. And by the way, you can have that anytime just by using your imagination. Amazing. But we want the physical stuff, but we get attached to it looking the way that our mind has done it. When we create a vision, it's because we're using all the resources we have. we're thinking this, knowing what I know about life and the things I like, this is my vision of how this will make me feel a certain way. This is what I want. These things, that house, that car, that woman, whatever. But that's automatic attachment to saying those things are the things I must have if I'm going to be happy. And then so when it doesn't show up that way, then we get it's not working. And then we start going down this spiral. We kick into our autopilot again. But the key is the universal intelligence that's bringing you all of these situations for you to respond to knows what's going to give you the feeling that you want. So you just need to trust that, I'm sure most of the people listening have heard this or something better when it comes into the manifesting thing. So you've got to allow the something better, or call it something different. But the end result is the feeling you want. And the more that you can let go of what it has to look like and realize that your vision is more or less sort of it's a tool. It's a tool to get you into this feeling that you want. And many times the way that you're going to get that feeling is you're going to see your vision realized. Like many of the details will be exactly what you want. And some might be different. There might be a key thing that's different, but you'll still have the feeling that you want. It's the challenge for so many people in this is detachment. They want it, how they want it, when they want it. And if it doesn't show up that way, they say it's not working. And then they start talking about how it's not working, but they haven't really given it a chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I love like when you said that's so true. Like if you're searching, like where is it, you're already in the wrong place. Like that alone is a huge piece right there. Like this idea, well, if I keep searching, I'm just flailing around, kind of, trying to see how this is going to work. And
you're affirming that it isn't there. Every time you say that, you're just affirming that it isn't there, and that but yet you're somehow surprised and shocked that it's not showing up because I'm doing my vision boards. Right. But every day you're looking at the vision board. Yep, I don't have that yet. That's you're misusing the tool.
Exactly. Yeah, great point. Great point. That is so true. And I love what you mentioned around the feeling state, because that too is what I always talk about too, is like we're all even people that say, no, I want to be in the nothingness. I want to be zero. I want to be nobody and no thing. And well, there's a feeling that you have around that. So
How will you know if you've arrived when you've arrived if you don't get that feeling of whatever it is? Yes, absolutely.
Right. So yeah, we're all looking for that. And the obvious answer is, when we calm down, is like, well, you realize you can already have that feeling, so you may as well just go ahead and enjoy that now and create from that space, right? I mean,
absolutely. But we've been trained to learn that we'll be happy when. Yeah. We'll have the emotion when it comes, and it's just completely the other way around. And so for so many people, and I know even for me for a long time, that sounded kind of woo-woo. It's like, oh, you got to be this, and then like magic. But no, it's very logical. When you show up differently, the world is going to respond differently. You will get different results. It's just freaking logic. There's no faith required.
That's what I love about what you bring, is that you bring it to a really grounded level that everybody can understand, in the brain. Even people that believe in all the other stuff, I'm totally, oh yeah, that makes sense to another part of their brain now, right? So they're like, yeah, that's right.
I'm hoping that, yes, that just speaking at this level and pointing to science and things that are indisputable, neural pathway, neuroplasticity, and all of those things that we can point at and say, look, this has been talked about for a really long time. This is how we learn. Your brain is changing right now. Listening to me, you're getting new information and your brain is changing. And if you keep reinforcing this type of information, you will grow new neural pathways. And if you can stop looking at things that are contrary to this, like, oh, I don't have any control, or oh, it's just my lot in life, those neural pathways will wither on the vine and not be a part of who you are anymore, and thus not affect your action. Thus, it will change how, your results in the world, because you do stop yourself so much. We all stop ourselves. We second guess ourselves. We limit ourselves because we're not thinking big enough, and we just don't understand the power of this thing. Mm-hmm. When we can get this thing wired the way we want, we're unfreaking stoppable. How do you know that, Bob? Because look at the people out there who are unstoppable. Guess what? They're human too. They got this. It's wired different than yours. Mm-hmm. Some of it was accidental, their environment, but a lot of it is people get intentional. I'm going to learn to do this thing, or I'm going to be this person, and I'm going to do everything I need to do it, no matter how long it takes, no matter how uncomfortable it is, because I know why I'm doing it. If you don't know why you're doing it, then of course, as soon as it gets tough or, your wiring kicks in, you just go, oh yeah, that's right. I can't do this. I forgot because I'm this and this. But when you can take the time at the very beginning of the first thing we should be talking about in the law of attraction conversation is who do you want to be, not what do you want to have? Because the person you are right now has all sorts of other needs, probably based on lack or not enough or fear or worry or whatever. Most people come to the law of attraction conversation because they've got a bunch of problems they want to solve. Not everybody, but some do. And so that's the first thing they do is start going after problems, affirming over and over again that they've got freaking problems, instead of taking the time to say, who do I want to be?
Right.
And what, how would they look at these problems? How would they solve this? What would a life be without these? What would they have? It's just a completely different way of looking at it. Decide who you're going to be and then decide what they would want, because they're going to want different things. They're going to probably think bigger than you. They're certainly going to have a different energy around why they want something, not so I can get out of debt, not so I can stay out of trouble, but because I'm going to give more. I'm going to be able to be a bigger version of myself with this abundance or whatever it is that they want. But first you create who that person is and then get ready to commit, because you don't just read a book or see a movie or make a vision board and rewire yourself over decades of stuff. Yes, you can see results every single day, but and the more that you do it and the more intentional you are and the more repetition, if you treat your life like it's your life instead of like a program that you're going to do 45 minutes a day. I'm going to do my gratitude before I go to bed, but the rest of the time I'm going to sit there and complain about stuff or something equivalent. You can't expect results. So that's the thing. Transformation is, the personal development industry likes to make it sound like you can just package it up and there's this thing, go to this weekend, boom, you're done. But it's just not like that. We got where we are. But the good news is you can transform. Your brain is ready any moment for you to send it something different and create something different. And you create new meaning out of situations you see all the time where you get frustrated, you can find empowerment. It's a decision though. And you have to start and you have to commit. And that's the reason most people don't finish, is because they don't have the accountability. They don't have somebody or a group or something to support them, because it gets very challenging when you start changing who you are, because the people around you aren't necessarily ready for it.
Right, exactly. Let's talk about that too. I mean, because you'll be like, I'm positive, I'm on it. And then someone outside of me, my partner or other friends or family, or say, what are you doing? Like, when I was still trying to start up my business and I was, going bankrupt, it's like, everybody's like, when are you going to give up? I'm like, it's just happening. I don't know. I'm not giving up. What are you talking about? Because I have a science of mind background, became a practitioner of that, which is all about mining your consciousness constantly. So it's like, I'm just like, okay, it's happening. I don't know how or when it's happening though. And then the success happened, from there. So, but it would never happen if I listened to those outside voices. But right. I think most people are like, well, right now I'm going to have to just kind of do this, my loved one, my partner or whatever is getting on my back and people have different ideas about how to deal with that, right? Like, oh, divorce them or to just tell them, like, are you going to support me or not, or what? All these things. So I was wondering what your perspective is with these so-called outside voices that come to us and tell us, no, you can't have it.
Yeah, I really like how you said so-called.
Yeah, right.
I know what you're talking about, right? So yes, boy, and we could go deep on just that. Right, but look, when anybody says anything to you, how you feel about it is your issue. What they say is their issue. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if they're telling you you can't do something, they're talking about themselves. Most of the time when we start to play a bigger game around people who are used to us one way, we're trampling on their own comfort level. Like, oh, wait a minute, they want to play a bigger game. No. I hang with you because we're in the same level of, doesn't this suck?
Right.
If you start doing this, now I'm feeling threatened. Now they may not even know that consciously, right. But that's how the pushback starts to show up. Now, how you interpret it is up to you. You're going to take those words, and if like what you were saying, if you have a negative response, that's an inside job. Mm-hmm. Based on your wiring and what you think those words should mean coming from that person, you just connect a whole bunch of dots and you go, oh, my feelings are hurt, or I feel small. It's just automatic because oh, this is my mom or this is my wife or whatever it is. And so you just, well, they should support me. You make all this meaning and then you feel bad and defeated. That's just an option though. It's totally option. It's also an option to just listen to them and hear them and go, yeah, I hear you. It's crazy, right? Well, I'm going to keep doing it. And absolutely no, you don't internalize at all. That is an option. There's no law that says you have to respond to them in a certain way. You don't have to make them, you don't have to play into their smallness. Certainly you don't play into their belief that you can't do something. You know, the thing about that, the whole thing about relationships and how they change when you take it on, it's like, ultimately, you're going to have to answer the question, whose life are you going to live? Are you going to live yours? Your full life, everything you want to do, all the value you know you're here to give, express yourself fully, or are you going to live a watered down version so that these people can be comfortable? But I love those people. Okay, so what's your decision? I get it. You love them. So are you going to live for them or are you going to live for you? That's it. And it's not an easy one, but that, and I can't make that decision for any particular person. But I would also suggest though, that if you go and live your dream, yeah, some of them may live in, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? They may resent you for the rest of their life or whatever, but you may inspire a lot more people than you think. And if you don't do that, then nobody wins. You don't get to do your thing. They're certainly not going to go anywhere, you know? So that's just my sort of bias is you got to do you. You get this one life, man. I mean, and to rationalize it away so that other people can be more comfortable in their mediocrity or whatever. Again, I'm just using a general example.
Right.
That's a pretty sad story. And I don't think you really want to do that.
You can't raise other people up. I mean, I always say, like, even if, I know, like, I've upset other people's energy when I decoupled from them based on where they were and where I was going. Maybe they spiraled down worse, but I know on the big path of their life and their soul, I know that they actually, what I'm doing is contributing to them because they've got to be with whatever's stirring now. You know, I'm not just a prop in their life in some kind of way is how I look at it. So it's like, okay, now you're with you. Okay. You know, you got to deal with you still. So we can't, you know, we can't do anything about that. We have to move on. And, so some of the thoughts that come in my mind, I mean, I wanted to reference the movie, How Thoughts Become Things, because one of the fascinating things they talk about in the movie that's so unlike what you hear in other things is they talk about not necessarily getting rid of all the negative people, that there can be value in people are showing up as so-called negative and harnessing the value of the voice. Like, because you talk about this, you talk about, you know, the stumbling blocks that seem to be coming up are actually huge blessings and gifts, just like the so-called negative people that are coming in, giving us feedback, giving us ideas, also could be blessings. They could be pointing to something that we need to deal with. Yeah.
Because again, negativity, that's your decision. A person can come up to you and say, do whatever, and they're just doing and saying words and doing a thing. You decide if they're negative or not. You decide. So if you feel a negative response, guess what? That tells you you've got something in there that they've triggered. It's a blessing. It's a gift. Do I want to be triggered by this? No, I don't. I'm going to work on this one. You know, they bring resistance of any kind, it sheds light on areas for you to grow. You know, so if a person is being constantly negative and you're interpreting it and you're taking it personally, now there's a point where people are just annoying and that's another thing. But I'm talking about if you're taking it personally, if you're internalizing their negativity to mean something about you, that's your choice. And you don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I love the thing you were talking about with, when you're talking about, well, this whole thing around the wiring, I'll give you a really dramatic example. I was watching a video and, you know, I forget the guy's name, but anyway, it's a video and it was interviewing somebody from North Korea, escaped from North Korea. And in North Korea, apparently the people are like brainwashed, you know, slaves, basically. I mean, the overall population. So when and starving to death, always hungry. So when she got out and she was given food, her whole goal was just to be able to eat more food. That's her big goal, her big dream. I want food to eat. Everybody dreams of like eating big bowls of bread there, you know? So like when she got out and she got herself eventually to, well, South Korea. Well, anyway, eventually when she got somewhere where she was able to get the food, She was really good with that. But when they started saying, listen, you've got choices, you can do things with your life now. She's like, no, no. It's just like it was really threatening. Like you got like, and then she said, it's people don't understand how hard it really is to have the ability to have choice. Like it is, especially if you were already wired to take orders, right? Like this is the way your life is. You just do this, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, no, you got freedom. You're like, no, I think I'll go back to my cage over here where they tell me what to do, like, because that's what you know, right? So I thought it was like really interesting because most people think like, well, once the slave is free, they'll totally want to like embrace this life. And no, it's like super frightening. And I think that's what's so interesting is like where all these opportunities are. It's just a dramatic example of how where the opportunities are is where the fears come up. And I was wondering what you have to share about that in terms of from your perspective of the wiring, the brain, and all that, and how do we?
Well, I mean, it's just the comfort zone.
Yeah.
We're just wired to a certain degree of comfort zone. I certainly have things where I just shut down. I don't want to do that. Like I just don't know why this popped into my mind, but I've got this thing about dancing. I'm a typical guy who just doesn't like to dance. I'm just like that. But for me, it's more than I just don't like to. Like I got a thing about it, right? Like that's so far out of my comfort zone, and I'm not willing to rewire around it. So, I mean, that's one of those things where I know what my limitation is and I don't care. That's how much of a threat or whatever I have perceived. So that's some crazy wiring from somebody who knows way better than that, but then makes a decision to say, well, all right, well, for now, I don't feel the need to change it. But then there's other things where, like on the other hand, I picked up the ukulele about 10 years ago, and I am committed to having breakthroughs with it all the time. So you start, you learn a few chords, you strum, you sound like every other ukulele player. And then I tried, because I have a musical background, so I try and, mix it up a little bit. And then over the past few years, it's like, no, I really want to be somebody else about this. And so there were things that I told myself, I will never be able to do that. It would be great. And I appreciate that they can do it. But now I'm like, well, wait, why can't I do it? So again, it's just that rewiring process comes like first I have to be a person who does it. So I have to see it. Like, what would it be like? What would it feel like if this were easy? And I'm telling you, it just makes my fingers move easier. It makes me breathe easier. It's just the whole thing, but it's all wiring, and it had to grow over time. And with intention, it grew faster. I think that's basically the lesson I want to say out of this, because we'll always be rewired, on autopilot. Our wiring is going to change if we don't take conscious control over it. We're kind of going to be all over the place. I mean, most people aren't the same person they were when they were 15 years ago. Some people have completely different opinions than they did even 2 years ago, because over the course of time, different information got in there. These neural pathways grew stronger, these grew weaker. And now when you're in this, by the way, when that transformation happens, you look back and go, how did I ever think that way? That's how crazily different you are once you've successfully rewired.
Right. I mean, once you're in a new state of being or consciousness or however you want to put it, it's like, yeah, you look back at where you were and you're like, how the heck was I like that even? Like, how did that happen? Like,
right. It seems incomprehensible because you have a different brain. You're literally a different person with completely different. You have now you have a different truth. By the way, it's no more true than the one you had before. It's just different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Bob, what's your take on this? Let's just explore this one thing here. I mean, like I'm an energy worker, intuitive business coach, do all these different all these things. So I work with people's energies, right? So I've got my own answer, but I'm curious what you'll say. Now, some people would say you can't just work with the brain, you got to work with all the deeper energies and all this stuff. What's your take on that? Like,
well, I think that they'll be worked with. The brain it's all connected.
Right.
And this is the cognitive, this is where we have any kind of conscious control. This is where we're going to at least input data. And what happens with the rest of it, it's out of our control, but it's absolutely connected. We're absolutely having this is having a spiritual impact. But it's just that we have direct access through thoughts and thinking and intention and all these nice little tools and our imaginations, these things that we were born with. This wasn't supposed to be hard or elusive. We were born right with it. Imagination, that we have pictures in our head and we have feelings and things we want to do. It's like right there. There's nothing to figure out, but we got wired to think that there is. And so a lot of us, now there's a personal development industry.
Right. I mean, honestly, if we really are aligned with how easy it could be, we would see more of where we would experience like things just like, oh yeah, it's happening. Like everybody would be in that attitude more so, right? Like it's happening. I'm not concerned. I'm just having fun doing what I'm doing. Follow my guidance. Follow my intuition, right? And just being clear about it. And but
Yeah.
I find what I find for myself when I'm in the process of manifesting something new in my life, and it's meaningful to me. It feels deep and meaningful to me. It's not just a parking space or something, right?
Mhm.
Like, but like it's something where like, whoa, this has real meaning to me. It seems like my energy raises, right? Like, oh, I feel it, man. It's happening. It's coming soon, and then all of a sudden, like when it doesn't happen when you thought it would, and oh, it's not happening. Oh my God. Oh my God. No, okay, wait a minute. I need to work through my, okay, wait a minute. It's happening. No, it's still happening. Okay. And then you get to build the energies up again. Like, oh, that it's like up and down, kind of up and down.
Yeah.
So yeah. So is that kind of the process when something's
Well,
a deeper thing?
when we learned to walk, we took a couple of steps, we fell down.
Right.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same it's literally the same thing as learning to walk or talk, same level of discomfort, making mistakes, the whole thing. We're just learning a new thing, and that is to live our life how we want. But just like we learned to drive a car and learned our new job and learned anything, we grew new neural pathways. There was a time when we didn't know what we were doing. It was uncomfortable. We doubted ourselves and so on. It should be and it took some time.
Mm-hmm.
And with this, it's the exact same thing. We're going to stumble. We're going to have second thoughts. Our wiring is going to kick in, make it very difficult for us at first. So we have to create something of a practice, even though ideally we just want it be our natural way. But at first we're going to have to create some sort of practice of catching ourselves and reframing in the moment and being very clear on who we want to be instead of who. Like if we get in a situation where we're in upset, we have to be able to stop and say, okay, it's happening right now. I am in reaction mode. My wiring is kicked in. What's any other way that I could be right now? Even if it's not logical or anything, just to show yourself that there are other ways to be. You don't have to go down the autopilot road. You don't have to be in autopilot. I mean, you don't have to be in complete reaction. You can be conscious and make different choices. But it just takes all kinds of consistency. And that's why there's coaches and stuff like that, to hold you accountable. But I'm telling you, for somebody who really is committed to big transformation, I mean, they really have to be committed. If they don't take that first step of knowing why they're doing this and who they're going to be in it, the chances are, and it's just statistics, and I don't mean to be a downer here, but it's just the wiring will kick in and a person will find a reason to stop. That it's taking too long, I'm out of money, whatever it is, that they say, I'm just going to stop this growth now. And at the same time, mentally, subconsciously check off another thing that didn't work. So now everything they try is like, now it's another level of testing it. And the layers of resistance and the action you will not take because you're testing things. Yeah. So it's really no surprise that people get lackluster results, but they're not looking at it that way. They say the program didn't work, or there is no law of attraction, or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah, of course. Yep, of course. So people listening are, typically are wanting to create their business or go to their next level or whatever and make that big impact by, spiritually being, deeper connected and, doing all the work they need to do internally, et cetera, to let that happen. So they're really have something deep and meaningful that they're up to in manifestation. They're not just looking for a new car or house or travel only. Maybe that's part of the part of what they desire, but it goes deeper than that in a big way. And then when you say you need to know why this is important, or why do you want this? Why was the most clearest thing I heard you say. And we've heard that so many times, but you need to know why. Is it possible that people don't really know why they want to manifest what they want to manifest? In other words, they could say like, well, I want it because I'm going to, you talked about feelings, right? So I want to feel like this. Is that where, so when you say, what is the why? In other words, how do you define knowing what your why is? Well, I want it for the feelings. I want it for security.
Yes, it's the whole, why is that important to you? Series of questions. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to dig. It's kind of cliche. It's very, one, two, three coaching, what do you want? Well, why do you want it? Well, why is that important to you? And why is that important to you? As cliche as it is, that's exactly what you need to do. You've got to get down to that core, like where if you can get a tear in your eye or some sort of an emotional response that says, I've hit it. Now I know the real why.
Yeah.
And let me address something else about people who are just starting out. Because especially I've seen it in the personal development industry, people come in and they're just really nice and they're really sweet. They have a big vision and all of this, but what they really, and they know their stuff, but they lack the confidence. They lack the confidence to show up the way they need to show up. Now there's false confidence, which people can see right through or feel it anyway, or then there's the real true confidence. So if you're in an industry where there's somebody in that industry who you admire, who's got it going on, like a speaker or something, and you picture them on stage, or a business person, and you can picture them in a meeting or whatever, and think about the things that are being thrown your way in your journey. And if you're struggling with it, think about how would that person handle it? What would that person say in this situation? And try that on. Try feeling that level of, because they do that because they're confident. They do that because they've done things over and over and they've gotten a specific result and they know that it's going to work. And you have to show up with that level of confidence in everything you do when you start a new endeavor. If you're online, in your sales, in your web pages, in your emails, in all of your correspondence, in all of your interviews, everything you do, it has to say, this person knows what they're talking about, not because of the words they're saying, because anybody can say words, as evidenced by what happened after The Secret came out. And then everybody was a law of attraction expert. Everybody in personal development knew the 3-step method to manifest anything you want. And of course that didn't work. And people were jaded by the whole conversation. So, but the confidence comes within. You decide, I am that person. I am that person. It's not arrogance and it's not ego. It's a full knowing that I have this in me. I know what I'm talking about. I can help people, but they need to be able to trust me. They need to know that I'm speaking with authority. And I can't come from this place of like, well, I'm just kind of starting and, it's so great to have you listen to me. No, own it.
Yeah.
The sooner you own it, the more you will feel that success that you're wanting.
Yeah, you got that oomph. I asked you some questions about the interview in the beginning. You're like, just do your show. I'm like, yes, I love that. That was exactly what I would want to hear anyway. Like, just do your show. Perfect. I mean, that's exact. Boom, just do it. Exactly. You bring that. So I'd love for you to share with people, if this is a good time, how people can actually do the rewiring, like how to get more of your magic. And we're talking about like really helping, like what's helping me today is just a review around so many things, but one was what you just said around the why, right? So it's like the more I keep digging into my why, like it just brings me back. Sometimes we like look over things that we feel we've heard a million times, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, oh, I've heard that. Okay, whatever, like this. But are you actually embodying doing that, right? So I'm like, wait a minute, am I going deep enough on my why? Maybe not. Maybe I need to go deeper on that. So like that, like was something for me already from the show. So it's like you've got these tools to help people to really develop that shift inside of them. And I know you have a free gift you wanted to give people today. Do you want to tell them about that now, or?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I mean, I just want people to, because I think that understanding about the rewiring, I mean, we've had this conversation and some people might have just clicked, yes, I absolutely see it. And some may just want a little bit more on it to know that, yes, this is in fact a thing. This isn't some new age concept about rewiring, and that this is actually a thing. And, when a person can understand how they got where they are through their thinking, then they can understand how they can change. And so I have it's a webinar that talks about rewiring, and that people can go and view for free. And it's just, it just brings them up to speed and hopefully gives them, a significant level of empowerment over what can happen for themselves from this point on, just based on making different meaning out of things or choosing different thoughts. And so they can just go to meetbobdoyle.com/rewire.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can, and they can watch that. And look, in that webinar, there's a lot of opportunity to respond, to answer a question, to participate. And I know that for most people, webinars are passive and they're just, it's on in the background. I get that. But in this one, again, it's your level of commitment. You can have it on in the background and just go, yeah, I know all that stuff. Fine. I hope that is working for you. Or you can sit down and actually just do the silly things I ask you to do, respond when I ask you to, because you're getting engaged, because now you're moving in action, because you're telling your brain and body, it's all in an alignment. It can't just be this mental thought. You want to get everything involved because you're embodying being a different way. So that's one way to kind of get, connected with me. And then obviously I'm easy to find.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll put this in the show notes too. Meetbobdoyle.com. Doyle, just in case people don't know, is spelled DOYLE.com /rewire. And we'll also put a link to the movie, How Thoughts Become Things, which Bob was in as well. And let's see. So yeah, we're to the point of the show where I usually like to go ahead and share some, intuitive downloads around my guests, or what I'm sensing maybe is unfolding or going on, or about your gifts or purpose, whatever comes through. I just kind of tune in. So are you ready, Bob?
Lay it on me.
Lay it on you. Here we go. All right, do my show.
Do your show.
All right, let's see. Okay, I'm getting a wizard energy. So I feel the encouragement. I'm here we all need encouragement. So we all need more reinforcement. So like I'm getting like wizard energy. So like you're meant to embody more of the wizard magical sort of energy that you are. So I think it's so great, like this grounding you've given yourself to, like rewire, deep, practical, it's logical, it's real, that's great. But also I'm getting like this, now that you've got that settled in, it's bring back even more of this magical stuff, even more of it, and lay that on thick. So there's, from that place of doing this deep work, then there's these levels of just letting everything be so mystical and magical. So that's what's coming through to share with you. And let's see, got a couple other quick things. Yeah, I do see the timbre of the balance of your being too, like how, you do have that really level-headed aspect. I think like when your initiation into like deepening into spirituality was really good for you, because it kind of took you off those old moorings, right? So it's really good. And then coming in more solid, and now it's more you got enough steel in you, that steel in it, it's like, lighten it up again, right? So it's this constant like evolution. And let's see, I think I got two more messages. Let's see. I just get that voluminous is the word I'm getting. When I get down in the lower chakras into the power center, I feel like there's more energy. It just keeps wanting to come out because you're so creative. You have lots of energy. You have lots to share, and you do need those. You need little periods of rest, like everybody. But like, you really see it solid for you. But I see like tons of information, and you do have a mystical level of, we all do, but like you particularly have too, this mystical level of information to give to people, deep teachings. So like mystery school level kind of stuff or whatever, or beyond. And I feel like that's coming somewhere in the path ahead, like not that you haven't already done it, but it's coming for you to share that more, is my feeling. So those are just a few things to share. So yeah. So
those are good ones.
Yeah.
I can walk away with a smile on my face.
All right. Okay. All right. Great. All right. So if people want to check me out, just go to yoursacredpurpose.com. You can get an energy scan consultation with me. The way to do that is right there, right in front of you when you go to my website. And you also can get a free Meditate to Make Money meditation to help you, get your frequency rewired, ultimately, I guess, the brain too, right? So it all connects. And to get those downloads each day on what seems to be wanting to happen, and to keep you in the groove. I mean, so my colleagues are telling me, one particularly says, I just keep making more money, listen to this thing. And so if we but she listens to it once or twice per day. So what we're doing consistently makes a massive difference in our lives. So anyway, so you can check it out at yoursacredpurpose.com. Get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation. Okay, great, Bob. Well, I'm going to give you the last word here. So Any last thoughts or things you'd like to share with the listeners before we wrap up today?
Well, I think that there's probably a good chance that people listening to this have probably tried a lot of different things. They're probably on a path, somewhere, but we're going to call it personal development. And they've probably tried some things that maybe haven't worked the way they wanted to. And I just really want to remind everybody that there's a lot of stuff out there that works. There's a lot of great information out there. There's a lot of things to support whatever you want to be in your life. So understanding what that is first, and then finding people who are really good at that, and then committing to the learning process, to the growing process, no matter how long it takes. Like, let go completely of rushing it. Don't put any timetable on it. Just be with what shows up and spend every day doing as much value as you can on that thing. Be the best you can be every single day, and it will unfold for you. It will get there, but you have to stop telling yourself it's not working. Once you've got it, once you're clear, this is the vision. Don't let it not showing up on your timetable let you think that it's the universe telling you it's not supposed to happen. That's a ridiculous thing that I hear all the time. I guess the universe doesn't want it for me. Guess what? The universe doesn't want or not want. If it wants anything, it wants you to enjoy the experience of being human. That's why you're here. You're a physical extension of this vast universe you're supposed to love every moment. So go love it.
Yes. And so let's have more of that. Absolutely. Well, that's great. That's a great note to sign off on. And again, Bob, I'm so grateful to have you on, and all your great wisdom and energy and everything you've shared today. So thank you. And thank you to all our listeners. And as always, keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone. Goodbye for now.
You're listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.